hear it a little louder. Can you make it louder than my headphones? Turn me up in my headphones. I'm still stuck in the 80s/90s. Lottos, kangaroo boots, nanny ghosts, feelers, jumpsuits and troops, Junos, color Levi's, Bugs Bunny sweaters with the rhinestone ring on it. Fighting and making up the next day. Nobody getting shot. Working and hustling to get it, or get got. We had love for the streets, our family, our foes, our friends. Respect for the elderly. Pager/payphone, sneaking into Adams Theater. Watching Crush grooving tougher than leather. Hopping gates out the college port to bang out, cause you don't wanna get caught at mom's crib or at Vaughn's crib. Eating funny dinner with the fam. Church every Sunday, 8 o'clock a.m. And even if I fell asleep in the back row or played sick, no matter what, man, I still had to go 80s, baby. He's a DJ, I'm the rapper. He's a DJ, I'm the rapper. 80s, baby. He's a DJ, I'm the rapper.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode number 108 of the X-Cast. It's day 5652 in the search for Tim Shovelday. I'm your host, Josh Houselander. With me, as always, producer extraordinaire Adam Hernandez. We're going to try to have a bit of a lighthearted show tonight, give you some reprieve from the Super Tuesday, the debacle that is the
DNC.
Yeah, that is everything going on right now with the DNC and the system at large, if you will. We do have a special guest, Jon Klinkel, coming in. He's calling in about 10 minutes or so. But we thought we'd just jump right in and start talking about some of this stuff. Adam and I have just been talking, off air before the show started about this mess and about everything along with it. And the just the people all of a sudden, crowding around Joe Biden, acting like he's going to be the savior, the guy that's going to... What is he the savior of? Of Trump? Is that their thing? I can't even tell.
Well, Josh, that's the angle that Democrats are playing right now, which ironically enough was, the angle that they were, just kind of, I don't want to say warning against, but demonizing in 2016, don't play the scare angle and don't get the scare vote, talk about, the hope and everything for the country. Yet that's exactly what they're doing right now.
Right.
In, trying to scare Democratic voters into voting for a guy like Joe Biden, who is going to be the only candidate that's going to be able to beat Trump. Yet there's no data that actually supports that. I mean, does Biden defeat Trump head-to-head? Statistically speaking, when we're talking about polling, yeah, he does. But you know what? So does Bernie Sanders. So it's not like Bernie Sanders isn't a guy that can also beat Trump.
By the way, these are same polls that told us Hillary was going to win the landslide.
Exactly. How much can you actually trust polling and whatnot? I mean, my whole mentality in all of this is all bets are off. I mean, based on 2016, you can't say one way or the other. I mean, the only thing that we can, relatively be somewhat sure of is that Democrats tried running a centrist candidate before, to go after the character of Donald Trump, and it didn't work.
No, and
yet they're trying to do it again.
I know that Joe Biden tried to run against Hillary Clinton twice and lost, but yet he can beat Donald Trump. I find it funny personally. Adam and I were just talking before the show started. I was debating, so not even like a heavy debate, not like a mean-spirited one, just debating somebody who has all of a sudden jumped on the Joe Biden train.
Yeah.
Just yesterday. And, they want to ignore every gaffe. They want to ignore everything and act like, I'm just piling on, because I am piling on with everything. And it just comes to the point where, you make fun of Joe Biden and everyone thinks, oh my God, but Trump this, Trump that. I don't even have a horse in this race at all. I'm sitting back, with an enormous bucket of popcorn, just watching this debacle and laughing. It's funny. It's hilarious. And to act like it's not contrived and, oh, Josh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Adam, stop being a conspiracy theorist. You're just turning into a conspiracy theorist because you're on Bernie's side. No, when people are conspiring for something, it's a conspiracy, okay? I mean, when Barack Obama is calling up Amy Klobuchar and Tom Steyer and Pete
Tom
Buttigieg.
Steyer. I mean, the last I heard it was at Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden and
Joe Biden or Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, and Tom Steyer. I mean, all dropped out before Super Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense, people. I mean, if you were seriously running for president of the United States,
I think it makes sense for Tom Steyer.
well, Tom Steyer was never.
Exactly, yeah.
But the whole thing with Tom Steyer is that he never had any support, but he had the cash, so he could stay in if he wanted to.
Yeah.
So why drop all that money to drop out before Super Tuesday? Mm-hmm. I mean, so in essence, these people weren't even running for president.
Yeah.
They really were never running for president. I mean, Pete Buttigieg. I'm including Tom Steyer in it because he dropped out within 24 hours of them.
Okay,
I'm
that's fair.
not trying to say that he had their support. He somehow got into that last debate, which made no sense.
Yeah.
Like, there's really people out there who are supporting Tom Steyer with the same fervor that people are actually still to this day supporting Tulsi Gabbard, for instance.
Yeah.
Who they won't let in the debates, but she's not a billionaire. So
You want to know something funny, too? Tulsi Gabbard is the only lifelong Democrat running in the Democratic primary right now.
People keep saying that she's still in the race. She is technically, but she's not.
But she's a Russian asset, too, though, Josh.
The DNC has basically said, yeah, you're running, but you're not.
Yeah.
We won't let you in the debates. We won't.
Yeah.
But, you know, so she hasn't dropped out of the race, but the DNC dropped her out of the race.
Yeah. Because she doesn't have the cash to sit there and throw at the DNC and
Right.
make these donations, so they'll let her in.
For people to drop before Super Tuesday, especially now when Super Tuesday's been bumped up, you know, Super Tuesday actually isn't what it used to be. Mm-hmm. You know, it's very different. We now call this Super Tuesday, but Super Tuesday used to be the thing later, and then California bumped up their primary, and a bunch of other states followed, so then that became the new Super Tuesday, and then they call this Super Tuesday and compare it to Super Tuesdays in the past, but it really wasn't.
Now there's actually two Super Tuesdays.
Right, there
There's this
really
Tuesday
is.
and then next Tuesday.
Right. The other, or isn't it 2 Tuesdays from now? Because next Tuesday is Michigan's.
Yeah,
right?
I think Michigan's part of the second Super Tuesday.
It's the one after that has a bunch that is like the historical Super Tuesday, I believe.
See, because I always thought that there are now two Super Tuesdays, which, you know, there's one and then the other one follows right after. So I don't know.
Yeah, Michigan used to be before Super Tuesday. Now it's after
really?
Super Tuesday, and because Michigan used to kind of matter, if you remember back to the John McCain defeating George W. Bush on Super Tuesday. Not the time John McCain was the candidate, the time when he was running against George W. Bush, and he. When that was back when Michigan had a Democratic caucus and a Republican primary. So if you,
They had a caucus here?
yeah,
Ugh.
yeah, and nobody came to it. So instead, you actually could do both if you wanted in some weird way. You had to register to be a Democrat to do it, but then the Republican one was open. So it was silly. You know, it was very silly. But John McCain won that, and that was going to give him momentum into Super Tuesday. When he won that.
But it didn't
Michigan is now... No, it didn't. But Michigan is now after Super Tuesday But Michigan didn't change theirs, and Super Tuesday didn't really change either. They just now call... It's like, this one today's really... They should call it like Super Duper Tuesday. Because it's, you know...
How do we get that going?
Yeah. Yeah, no, so... you know, that was the historic Super Tuesday.
Come on, is divided as this country is right now politically? Is that something that can unite everybody?
Yeah.
Can we just call it Super Duper Tuesday? So fucking dumb.
Yeah. Or if everyone's gonna drop out right before it, maybe we could call it Not So Super Tuesday.
Not so Super Tuesday.
Yeah, you
Not
know.
so Super Duper Tuesday.
Yeah, you know that's that's an option as well. But this whole thing cracks me up, and when I see the people now all of a sudden rallying behind Joe Biden, it's hilarious to me. I'm sorry, it's absolutely hilarious.
Republicans too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Not just.
So I love telling Democrats, I'm like, you know, that's a Republican rallying for Joe Biden, right? You know that. They don't fucking care.
Is Joe Biden? You're not counting him as a lifelong lifelong Democrat either.
No, because there was a time, it was in the late '60s, where he was a registered independent.
Okay.
It was just a year, but technically speaking,
Yeah, but Tulsi Gabbard probably wasn't born yet.
no, Tulsi, I don't think she was. I don't know. I don't know. She might.
That's the problem. I'm willing to still give Biden, status as a
lifelong Dem.
Yeah, because he's 100, and
he's 77.
Yeah, he's kind
of an old 77 though.
He
point,
is.
Right?
No, I mean, and that's the thing. When I brought up him not being able to beat Hillary, he couldn't beat Hillary. I don't want to say he was in his prime, but he couldn't beat Hillary when he was not obviously senile.
I mean, it isn't fair to say too, Jack. I mean, since again you say you don't have a horse in this race, and I believe you. And I mean, is it fair to say that Bernie is there more mentally than Joe Biden is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. No, 100%. And so is Bloomberg.
Yeah,
Bloomberg is
there too.
a totalitarian monster, but he's not senile.
Yeah, but I mean everything. Yeah, I mean all the marbles are there. Is that our call-in guest?
Yes.
What's going on? What, can he not call in or something?
I'm handing the phone to Adam because my tech skills are 0. So Adam will he's handling that.
We say he's not sure how to use a phone number for this.
For Skype?
Yeah, you just call in.
Oh, okay. So he doesn't need to use Skype. He can. Okay. Well, you got it.
Yeah, I'm texting him right now.
That's cool. I guess I didn't need to have that conversation on air. Sorry. Sorry to all the people listening at home.
That's why. I mean, who cares? If people could listen into this, I mean, it's
No, in fact, I mean, and we're not going to. I know that Jon Klinkel, our guest, has things to say about this as well, actually, because he's very active in this. But we're not going to lead off with that because this show is supposed to be a reprieve from this nonsense to talk about gaming and whatever else. And John has a very cool new show that we're going to shamelessly plug the hell out of once he calls in. But. No, the idea, like I was saying, I know it's a broken record, but Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, for them to pretend like they're running for president seriously this whole time, spend the money, get the support, put together everything, and then drop before Super Tuesday, it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't make sense. And
it does make sense, though, Josh. It makes sense when you look at the bigger picture with all of this and knowing what is ultimately trying to happen. That's when it makes sense.
Right. It makes sense that they were told by elite people who are more important than them that it's time to go and it's time for you to do this.
And the thing too with Mayo Pete, I mean, you saw the angle with that. I mean, it's my assumption that they got on the phone with him and said, "Hey, you know what? You get out now. You coalesce with Biden, and we will throw everything that we have at you when it comes to you running for Congress or something."
And it's going to be it's the whole your time will come.
Yeah.
You're still a young man.
Yeah.
We got you in the future, which is probably bullshit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely it. And even for Klobuchar. Klobuchar's fairly young. Well, she is a young candidate. I wouldn't have called her a young candidate in the past, but now that, 80 is the new 40 for for political candidates,
Are they is this gonna push the age requirement now for president to like 45?
Well, what's so funny is that, there used to be this idea that like, okay, 35 is it, but 35 is too young, know. So you didn't have these guys like Buttigieg in their 30s running for office, but you also didn't have, guys who are
looks like we got our call coming in.
Super old either. Hello, is this John?
This is John.
Hey, John, how's it going? You are live on the Xcast with Josh and Adam. Episode number 108 of the Xcast, to be exact. How are you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Good. We were a little worried because our professional guy who we had calling into Politics of the Empire, the show that precedes this, we had terrible problems with the connection, but you seem crystal clear, so I'm glad.
Yeah, so good. It's all on Dorf.
Yeah, so it's definitely 100% Dorf's fault. Everything Adam and I did was perfect.
Yeah, I was trying to enter the phone number, and on Skype I was like, what am I doing here? It's not working.
Yeah, that's why, I don't know if you're listening to the show, but we instead of hiding that like professionals should, we just had the conversation right on air.
I mean, that's what I always tell, like, people, because I know like my mom does this. I mean, it's something totally different. She does like a Facebook Live thing, and I always think it sounds worse when somebody tries to hide what they're doing. I'm like, you know what? Just
talk about it.
Just be open about it. Just be like, hey, you know, I'm trying to figure this out right now, and it's kind of fucking me up. But yeah, I just don't be open with it.
Beats dead air, right?
Yeah, nobody's gonna sit there and care. Or I think it's gonna sound worse if you're like, wait, what did you say?
So when you hear the people
They're
talk
like,
about
what's going on? Nothing's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you hear people talking about how like everyone and their mom has a podcast now, in Adam's case, it really is true.
It is true. Yeah.
Everyone, including him and his mom.
And here's a total fucking mom one too, where she teaches you how to like make greeting cards.
Wow, this is a cool show.
Yeah.
Oh wow, yeah.
I'll check it out. I'd watch that. But speaking of podcasts, you know, John, you got one now, right?
See, segues are good too.
Segues are good. I really love segues when you point them out.
Yeah.
No, but actually, you know what, John? Before we get to your podcast, let's set the stage here. Let's just talk about Jon Klinkel. Who?
Oh gosh.
I mean, because before you were brought in to do this show you're on now, you made plenty of tracks in the gaming world. So I know what you've done. Other people know what you've done, but for those who don't know the name Jon Klinkel as a household name, tell us about your past with Galaga and with everything else you've done. What are you most famous for in gaming?
Oh, so quite some time ago, I set a couple world records on Galaga. Since then, though, I've been involved in quite a lot. We created Galaga Forum, which, due to the fact that hopefully this won't cause any. Can I say anything, or
you can say
is there a
anything you
filter?
want. There's no censors here, no FCC. You can say anything you want whatsoever here.
Oh, I was more worried about viewers or opinions.
No. You be as opinionated as you want.
Well, Twin Galaxies doesn't adjudicate scores anymore.
Right.
And so we thought, this is not good. We want scores adjudicated. So at least for Galaga, which is our area of expertise, we created Galaga Forum, and we do adjudicate scores. We've been doing it for a couple of years now, and seems like we're fairly. I guess we're considered the authority now for Galaga anyway.
Very cool.
We're actually pursuing an affiliation with Guinness at this point that TG no longer has. So that I think would be helpful as well. But anyway, so we've done that. Competed in Score Wars in 2018. That was the first ever Galaga World Championship. That was won by Andrew Barrow of New Zealand. And then Armando Gonzalez finished second. And then I finished third. Kind of cool. Got $2,500 for playing Galaga. So I for Santa Fe. And of course Armando went on to capture the tournament and marathon world records on Galaga, putting up some pretty tremendous scores and beating the 29-year-old marathon record, since broken by Jordan Dorrington. I don't know if you've heard about that. He broke the 20 million point plateau.
Jeez. And how long is
crazy.
That? How long are you playing?
Scores are going nuts.
These marathon records are. I don't know how people do those. How long roughly is that?
About 14 hours.
Oh, Jesus.
But the thing with Galaga too, that I'm sure you're aware, but maybe not everybody listening might be, you don't get any free ships after 1 million points. A lot of games you keep building up free lives. Galaga you don't. So it's not always, it's not a matter of I can take a 2-hour nap or I can walk away for a while. You're stuck. If your concentration lapse, you can end your game pretty quickly.
Is there a kill screen in
also,
Galaga?
There is on the easier difficulties, but if you're playing on rank D, which is the hardest, there's no kill screen.
Okay.
Rank D also doesn't have a kill screen, but
so does it just keep on? Does it just keep on going, or is there like an actual boss at the end?
it just keeps going. So you go to stage 255. That's the last numbered stage. Then it goes to stage 0, and that if you're not playing a kill screen level, it actually just plays like a level, then it rolls to stage 1 again, and everything slows back down, and it's just like stage 1 the first time through. And then you go, it gets increasingly more difficult as you go, like it did in the first place,
Okay.
up till like stage, I don't know, 14 to 20, and at that point it kind of tops out in difficulty. So you're just kind of playing the same thing over and over and over. You just have to maintain focus. Another thing I've been doing more recently, I was on the nomination and vetting committee for the International Video Game Hall of Fame.
Very cool.
That's been interesting. Met some really cool people. Warren Davis, the creator of Qbert, he's a really great guy.
Great game too.
Yeah. What else?
No, that's John. Anything about IVGOF, I still absolutely love to support. The International Video Game Hall of Fame in any way I can. I love that organization. I know they struggle at times, but I do love the idea of what they're trying to do. I was at the the very first one years ago, and I met some people that are just lifelong friends to this day. Just met some great people, and I definitely still want to be involved with that, and I still like to try to follow it, and I'm glad to hear that. I didn't realize you were on the board. That's awesome.
Well, one of the committees, not the the oversight board, but that's something else I'm trying to maybe move into a different position. But that's as you know, there's been a lot of things going on with that, and trying to get everything back on the right path with that. So, with this past year's inductions and the upcoming inductions, this coming, I think October, I don't remember the date, sorry, but we're getting more people in that should have been in or that really deserve to be inducted versus, so-and-so's my buddy, let's get him in.
Sure. Yeah,
So
there was definitely a lot of politics. There was definitely a lot of politics involved, and it's to be understood. It's just kind of part of getting something like that off the ground, I guess. But no, that's
what they're trying to fix now is make sure everything works properly instead of having the appearance of being a good old boys club.
Yeah, which the entire competitive gaming subculture, if you will, kind of has that reputation of being a good old boys club. I love to call it a subculture, John, because back when I was working for Twin Galaxies, they told me I wasn't allowed to call it that. They didn't like that term when I said it was a subculture. So now that I have no link to Twin Galaxies whatsoever, I call it a subculture every possible chance I get. But we were, speaking of segues, we were talking about mitigated disasters like the DNC before you called, and I feel like that's a great segue into what's become of Twin Galaxies, if you will. Do you have any links to Twin Galaxies still? I love some of my past with Twin Galaxies. I love some of the people I've met, and lifelong friendships, again, like I said earlier, but it's just such a mess. I mean, I can't say I miss it.
I don't really involve myself with that so much, but I still know people and talk to them on occasion. But I don't due to my well, you know how outspoken I am on a lot of things.
Right.
So if I start talking, I tend to say things that people don't like. So I just try to avoid it at that point.
I understand. Yeah, and that's that's the same way I am, but John, it actually breaks my heart to see Twin Galaxies be such a disaster, but it kind of breaks my heart worse to see people pretend like it's not, to pretend like it's still something there when it's
the ones that are saying, "Oh, it's better than ever."
Yeah.
If it were better than ever, they wouldn't have a lot of the issues they're having right now.
Right. Maybe you could get a score.
Yeah.
Or something crazy like that.
Oh yeah. People. Okay. Tell me. Sorry.
Go ahead, man. Go off whatever tangent you want.
All right. So let's say I go out and get a world record on something. Now, for Galaga, if we're calling it official, if we put it up, it's official, okay? But let's just say I get a what would be a world record on Twin Galaxies now, and I want to go submit it. Oh, man, I don't have enough submission points. You guys don't want my world record score on your leaderboard that's supposed to be tracking world records?
Right.
Seems kind of odd.
How do you get submission points? Do you have to pay for them, or
by voting?
No, you vote on other scores, and this is hilarious too. So, God, I could go on a long time about this. So, you build up this thing called credibility. This is a great name for it.
Yeah.
It's so funny. You build up credibility by voting. You only gain points if you vote correctly. And by correctly, I don't mean right. I mean the way that the vote goes.
sounds like the DNC?
And you lose points. Yeah, you lose points if you go the other way. Now, so if somebody has a particular group of people with a high credibility rating and they want to score in, a few people vote and it's in. Same thing. If they don't want to score in, they vote it down, it's not in. Doesn't matter if it's a legit score or not.
It's world record by popularity contests, basically.
Right. Yeah, basically. Now, if you've got a really popular world record holder with a lot of buddies that don't want to see their score go down, you think maybe somebody might be tempted to say, "Oh, nope, not good."
Yeah, or for instance, if you are a great video game player, and there's a lot of people, by the way, that fall into this next category I'm about to say. If you're a great video game player, but you're a jerk, then you can't get world records, And quite frankly, what does being not a jerk have to do with whether or not your records are good? I mean, that's...
Right.
Imagine if sports was conducted that way. What would you do if sports were like that?
Well, it kind of is. I mean, the Baseball Hall of Fame is like that.
Oh, the Hall of Fame, yes, but not stats.
Not stats.
You can't say that nobody likes Barry Bonds, so he no longer has the home run record.
Yeah, you're right.
No, he has a home run record. It doesn't matter how big a jerk he was.
Yeah.
And with him, you can at least with him you
can at least argue that he cheated, not that he was just a jerk. Right. You can at least kind of make that argument that, well, he took steroids. Was that cheating? Was it not cheating? But that's not the case here. It's just a matter of we don't like people. Yeah, John, when I was, I worked for Twin Galaxies. I know this isn't my interview, it's yours, but, when I worked for Twin Galaxies, at first I was just their podcast host, and then I did for a time work for Twin Galaxies when it was TGI directly, and then I went on to go back to just kind of being their podcast host. But I got a lot of grief because I said from day one that this, the community adjudication was the downfall. And yes, I'm bringing it up now to show that I was right. that I was absolutely right. And it was pathetic, and I got a lot of crap for it, man. I did. I got a lot of crap for it. And when...
Well, you know the reason, right?
Why?
You've got a little group of people that don't want anything to be wrong with Twin Galaxies. So anybody that does criticize, oh, you're this, you're that.
Sure. No, you're right.
Same old thing.
No, you are.
But point in case though, with the with what you were talking about earlier, I don't know what your thoughts are of Rudy Ferretti.
Well, I used to host a show with Rudy Ferretti. I'm glad I don't anymore. I don't have any regrets about what I did in the past, but it became far too difficult to rein that in, and I just it got to a point where I just couldn't associate myself with him. I tried to remain friends with him afterwards, and long story short, I have nothing negative to say about him personally, about our personal relationship, but some time ago I noticed that he unfriended me on social media, and that I guess I'm not his buddy anymore. So there's some fun.
He made a video.
Oh, go ahead.
He made a video. Well, he made a video about me.
Oh,
and it was pretty bad. And he got to a point where he was, he was basically searching for things to put up about me. So my Facebook, my main photo was a picture of my daughter and I when we were in Hawaii. And he said, I want to boink my daughter.
Oh, jeez.
So, I mean, in addition to the whole rest of the video, which was terrible, but, that was, he crossed the line with me personally. But if he submits a Galaga score and it's good, it's going on the leaderboard.
Right.
And, we can't operate in a way where we let personal things get in the way of running our organization properly. And that's something that Twin Galaxies can't even say because they have no oversight on anything with their leaderboard. They don't look at a score. If something gets voted in, it goes up. They've never even seen it.
John, what I used to say, and this used to get me in trouble a lot, but what I used to say about Twin Galaxies is that they were letting the inmates run the asylum, in essence. And that's what ruined it. And without saying names, I did not know about that one, for instance, with you and Rudy. Him doing a very similar thing to a different gamer on our show is what and a lot of people listening know exactly this is because it's been very public, but I'm not going to feel the need to to throw the names back out there now, but that was in essence the beginning of the end of Rudy and I's podcasting relationship. It wasn't our last show because, quite frankly, I talked with him and I was pissed, but I talked with him and I wanted to have some more shows to try to let him redeem himself and, ask forgiveness. And he actually did, but then it got to be more of the same. And he made some videos about me, too. Evidently, he didn't do anything that out of line, but I'm the laziest guy in video games and podcasting. If anyone out there is wondering, according to Rudy Freud, I think I was Lazy Josh. I think he gives out names like kind of like Donald Trump does.
So the nicknames, yep.
Yeah, but Rudy is a good gamer though, for sure. If we're gonna talk about it, he's a good gamer. He's I would say, and this is saying a lot, I would say that Rudy Freddy's almost half as good as he says he is at video games.
That would still make him pretty damn good.
Exactly, because according to him, he's the best of all time. But with that being said, he's a character. He's a character for sure. And there's a lot of characters. There is a lot of characters in the gaming world. There are some that are disliked because they're jerks and they're unlikable people or they just rub people the wrong way. There's other people in the gaming world that have things that are actually truly nefarious that they've done, and I definitely don't want to support any of that. But like you said, that really doesn't matter. That really doesn't matter when you're just looking at high scores. It's a numbers game. I mean, it's a numbers game. I'm not here to be judge, jury, and executioner of every person who was ever on the leaderboards of Twin Galaxies or anywhere else.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
We've got a very famous example on our leaderboard.
You do.
We've gotten a lot of flack about that. At least we did initially. Seems to have died down. But again, going back to, do you want your leaderboard to be accurate, or do you want it to be, oh, well, this is what it is if you remove things that are put up by people you don't like?
Right. I didn't know how deep you wanted to delve into that or not, but that's one of the people that was definitely on my mind. When when you're talking about Galaga, he held the marathon world record for a long time.
29 years.
Yeah.
And now it's been beaten twice.
Which is good. I was rooting for anyone to beat it, to be perfectly honest with you, for that reason. But it doesn't mean the score doesn't exist, right? Let's talk about your new show, John. Tell us the name.
Okay.
Tell us what it's about. Tell us, give us the details.
Well, it's called the Gaming Feats Experience. Gaming Feats is actually the name of a company I created. It's an actual Michigan corporation, and it was going to be, well, I say was, it still could be, an eventual. I don't know if I want to use the word replacement for Twin Galaxies, but So Rob Fawcett and I are doing the podcast. He's my number 2 guy at Galaga Forum, but we also are joint on Gaming Feats, and it's going to be about gaming in general, though. Retro, current, everything in between. Might talk some pop culture. Might talk a little sports. Might talk about anything really. It'll be fairly interactive. We're going to do it on Twitch, which it'll also be streamed on YouTube. We might add some other platforms as well as we go. I don't know. I don't know if you use. Are you multi-platform?
Me?
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yep,
Oh,
we
okay.
are. We are on YouTube,
so you-
Twitch, all of that stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. You find us
Okay.
wherever you find podcast, and we're streaming live now. We're streaming live, but
Right, yep.
available for podcasts for download as well, like a traditional podcast.
Yeah. So the guy that does it with me, Rob, he's from Central Indiana. He's a Linux user. He's a modder, and he's a retro gamer.
Josh
so
doesn't know what
he
that
fits
is.
right in with us.
But people listening might.
Yeah.
But yeah, on Twitch. It's Gaming Feats. So twitch.tv/Gaming Feats. YouTube, it's the Gaming Feats experience. Gaming Feats was taken by somebody that's put up one video, so we kind of got stuck. We have Twitter, and we're on different social media platforms. We usually have a list at the end of the show that people can look at if they want to. But YouTube and Twitch are going to be our primary modes, along with Facebook, of course.
Cool. We too actually have one of our co-hosts is in Indiana as well. So we're also a Michigan and Indiana based
Nice.
organization. Now that you mention it, what was your co-host name again? I don't know if you said it or not.
Robert Fawcett.
Cool. What's his game? Well, he's with Galaga. You said that. I mean, he's with the Galaga forum as well.
He's putting up a pretty good MAME score. I think he's second or third on the MAME leaderboard. He's also got a world record on hammer throw on track and field, and he also broke the world record on MAME for. Oh my gosh, I feel stupid now. The driving game. Oh my God, what's the driving game?
Dragster. No.
No, pole position.
Pole position. Okay, cool.
He beat Joel West's score on pole position.
Oh, Joel West, a good guy.
Rest in peace. Yes.
Yeah, definitely rest in peace. A great guy. He was on
yeah.
this show several times in the past, and I miss him as a friend too. Great man.
Yeah, me too.
He'd have been rooting for your buddy. He always rooted for other people.
Yeah.
Playing games for sure.
Yep. So and Burger Time too. Rob is he's put up like 4 or 5 million on Burger Time.
Very cool. My
He's
daughter's
just,
favorite game.
All around good gamer.
Well, that's my oldest daughter's favorite game. So Burger Time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's always loved that game. So you've had one show so far, right?
Yeah, one official show, and we're going to be doing it every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you're going to be on with us next week, right?
Yes, definitely looking forward to it.
Awesome. We're going to save our topic we had for this week for next week so that you can weigh in on it, because I think that'd be a cool thing to talk about with you.
Yeah.
We're excited about it, and I also want to do a little more promotion. If again with you guys, if you guys want to post on any of those things, I'm getting going now too.
Yeah. No,
But,
you have a plethora of Facebook pages you're now running and trying to boost up, and some look. You just sent them before. We did a different show before this one, so I haven't had a ton of time to look at them. But look pretty cool from what I've seen. Yeah, if you want to plug any of those or send them our way, I can help you share some of those things as well too.
Sure. Now, do you mind if I ask you something? I don't want to say something that might not be
Sure.
okay to go on the show, because your producer might not like it or something.
No, I think we'll go ahead.
Is it okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I'm looking for a partner for a political podcast. Any interest?
Possibly, yeah, sure. We're always willing to do more Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, because Rob and I are talking about a sports podcast, to go along with the other one. But he tends to stay away from the political stuff, and I think that's such a hot subject right now. And, well,
Yeah. No, that's the show
we're
we
pretty
host right before
active
this
on
is called
Facebook.
Politics of the Empire. We here at Empire Media, we pretty much do everything, and yeah, I'm always looking for more things to do. Hell, even my show with Rudy was once on this network until Adam, my producer co-host here with me, wanted nothing to do with him.
So what's your... I feel stupid. What's the actual topic of, like, this hour show?
This show?
Or whatever.
Guest of honor, Jon Klinkel.
Oh, wow.
No, this
This
show
is like the most amazing show ever.
no, this show we're on right now is the XCast, and the best thing about the XCast is we talk about whatever we want to. This is a
Oh, okay. So it could be
absolute,
gaming or it could be anything else.
right. Yeah, this is we don't do much gaming talk on here anymore unless we get a big time guest, basically. Last time, what was the last gaming episode we did? Was it when Billy Mitchell was on?
No, because there's one after that. I couldn't tell
We
you.
had Triforce.
Yeah, we had Triforce.
Yeah, we had
on before,
Triforce
yep.
on before. Well, we've had him on probably half a dozen times over 10 years. But we do when we have guests, we talk about it. Or when there's an issue to talk about. Like when we're
okay.
we were for a while we would bring it up when gamers were smearing us in the show, but it was we won't say any names, PSP, but and Cat Despira.
We talked about that on the last show I was on with you. I think we determined he was a bitch ass.
Yes, that was that. Yes, that I actually kind of forgot about that. That was when Triforce was on. I believe Triforce.
Phil didn't want to
coined
answer the
term.
question.
No, he did not. He did not. When you guys do these Galaga things, okay, wait. This is what I was going to ask you before. On Twin Galaxies right now, because I honestly don't even know. As of right now, when you go to Twin Galaxies and look up Galaga World Record holder, is it still Andrew Laidlaw listed, or?
No. So Laidlaw was the tournament settings world record holder, and that record has been beaten a few times now. That's actually had a lot more activity than the marathon record.
It usually does. Right?
Technically, so Armando beat Andrew Laidlaw's score. He doubled it, basically. Well, he put up 7 million at first. Mike Thompson topped Armando. Armando took it back and put up over 9 million.
Jeez.
On 5 ships. Jordan beat him by it was very close. He barely beat it, but Jordan took the 5-man score too. Twin Galaxies has not updated that 5-man score because Jordan doesn't have enough submission points to submit a 5-man score. So he's got his marathon record up there, though. They did put that up. Armando is now second on their leaderboard, but Jordan is first, and rightfully so. I watched him play the game, so we adjudicated the score on the spot, and had both of his records up, the same, like right after they happened. Twin Galaxies, they go through that vote process, and so his marathon score got voted up, but he couldn't even submit the other one, which is kind of sad. It was the same game. So this is a really cool thing. He beat both records in the same game.
That's cool. Yeah.
He went on he has the longest known double ship score. He put up over 7 million points on one dual ship.
Wow. That is impressive.
Crazy.
You guys do a single ship score too, don't you? Keep track of that?
They're doing a challenge right now, and Twin Galaxies has a single ship track, and the Ender Barrel has that world record at 1.1 million. Mark Schultz has actually surpassed 1.2 now. So we're actually probably going to add that as a track on Galaga Forum as well. And our scores are going to be actual adjudicated, verified scores. Whereas,
Right.
you know,
You're going to base
little
them
different process
based
there.
on the quality of the score, not on their popularity or their submission points or
right, yeah. And this is the difference. And this is what Twin Galaxies used to do. Sorry, I'm going on a rant again.
It's
But
okay.
Twin Galaxies used to seek out scores,
Mhm.
If somebody got a score they wanted to know, they wanted to publish it.
Right.
We want that for Galaga. Twin Galaxies now, oh, well, you got to get submission points. You got to do this. You got to jump through hoops. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, then you're really not what you say you are.
You got to pay for a paper
And they don't
certificate
fit.
that you may or may not get in the mail.
Yeah, that too. But that's another thing too. Twin Galaxies or JSOL. What do you prefer? Because one will say, we don't even care about the leaderboard.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Well, there's no money in it. And so that's why it was turned over to the community anyway.
Yeah.
They didn't want to deal with it. That's not what they bought it for. So again, it's fine. When you own a company, you should have the right to do anything you want with it. However, this little, I don't know if you want to use the word cult, but anyway, this little group of people that can't stand anything other than, oh my God, Twin Galaxies is it for having a leaderboard and being the official scoreboard. Well, that's where they're going to go no matter what, it seems like.
Yeah.
Whether Twin Galaxies cares about them or not.
What's kind of funny is back in the day when after one of the IFGOF ceremonies, Steve Wiebe was actually talking about how they needed to do a single ship Galaga. He was mostly doing this because he kind of sucks at Galaga and was and could never keep a double ship or get a double ship. But he was talking about that, and we all just made fun of it. We all thought that was like the dumbest idea ever. It was like no, Steve, that's stupid. Why would we do that? And looking back, I mean, it's kind of a cool idea actually. But at the time, we just took it as an opportunity to just rag on something.
Pick on him?
Yeah. but I just remember him coming up with that idea years ago. Like, there needs to be a single ship. Like, nah. Oh, does there though? Does there need to be a single ship record? Because in Donkey Kong, for instance, they have the no hammer record and the
No hammer. Yep.
Yeah, and the which is just, I don't know.
So records for shitty players.
Yeah, it's just kind of a. But I mean, I guess that's.
Except then the good players start playing those tracks, and then they're still just as shitty in comparison.
Yeah,
they
that's
were
true.
before.
That's true.
There was I believe there was a kind of a record in Donkey Kong at 1.2, or probably still is. It's probably still up on the site for it's like just the first 3 boards or something, and I believe Brian Q of King of Kong fame actually held that record. At least at one point he did.
Funny side note, I don't want to interrupt you, but side note, he said he's going to start playing Galaga and maybe
really?
trying to set a world record.
Very cool.
But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I wish him well. That's cool. Hey, when you're with your Galaga forum, and forgive me if you already are, because I'm not that privy to the information.
Right.
Have you guys talked about recording Galaga scores for other formats? For Atari, for Nintendo, for...
Yeah. Actually, that's funny you say that. That's something I really want to do. We actually have some leaderboards that aren't active on the site right now. They're not up or posted, I should say. That's something that we're pushing to get done fairly soon. We really want to do that because there's a lot of desire, especially on that Class of 81 machine.
Yeah.
That's the most accessible cabinet you can find. And console players, we've seen people say, "Hey, where's our scoreboard?" Well, that's easily created.
Yeah.
I've even thought about having a master scoreboard where it's platforms irrelevant.
Sure.
Just put the scores up. Now it would be a separate leaderboard, in addition to all the other ones. But if somebody really wanted to say, what's the difference? You know, we got all these different things. You know, you got even that new game they made for the Atari 2600 that you can play. It's kind of a Galaga game clone. But if you take all of those and put them all together, mash them all together, who comes out on top? You know, what's the best score? Where do the players rank if you did something like that? It'd be something nobody else has put together, really.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd like to see you guys, because, I mean, quite honestly, you guys are doing a good job with it, with the Galaga Forum, so I just want to see it branch out, and I know kind of like the natural first branch would be other Galaga games, or to track what, Galaxian, right? Technically, Galaga is a sequel to Galaxian. I know
we have a few people for Galaxian. So going back to Gaming Feats, this is part of my big design, my grand design or scheme, whatever you want to call it. I wanted to have the experts for each game be the ones who were in charge of adjudication for each game. So, you know, now granted, I'd love to get Art Van Vliet for Galaxian, but I do have a couple players that are, you know, maybe a notch down from that, but they're willing to do that. They're willing to put the time in. I have for some other games lined up as well. I don't want to launch Gaming Feats until we're really ready to do it, because Galaga Forum we were able to start on the fly because we're all experts on Galaga. Every single staff member we have knows, you know, most everything about Galaga.
Sure.
And we have a couple that are even so technically inclined, or, you know, their expertise is just beyond anybody. I mean, it's crazy what some of these guys know. And, you know, stuff I'd be like, what the heck is that?
Right.
But getting into the programming even. But anyway, I you know, again, I say if, but if I launch this, I want it to be ready to, you know, hit the ground running. I don't want to have somebody say, oh my God, this is just shit, because then we're no better than, you know, anything else that's out there. If you know what I mean. But yeah, I think, and we would want to probably start everything from scratch too, which is a big debate topic. Another reason we're kind of, it's up in the air a little bit. But with Galaga Forum, we imported some scores. We're eventually going to be removing them because we don't necessarily trust some of them. But you know, some of these old scores, and so we're working on some documentaries too. Sorry, I didn't mention that. This all ties in together. And we've been doing a lot of interviewing, and we have some interesting information that we also don't want to put out until the documentaries come out, because it'll all tie together, and it'll be blatantly obvious why we did what we did and how we did it and the timing of everything and all that. But there's going to be some really interesting information out there in the coming couple of years, probably.
Very cool. Very interesting. Is Phil Day involved in any of that?
So Phil, he isn't part of Galaga Forum anymore. I talk to him very often, and he's kind of given me some ideas on different things to do. He thinks we've got a potential Netflix series in the making, but I don't know. You know, we're doing this. This is all brand new to us. You know, now granted, the guy that's doing the filming, he's a professional cameraman. He runs his own business. That's what he does for a living. You know, he gets hired for jobs all over the country. They fly him around. You know, he does like Campbell's soup commercials with the Chicago Bears kind of thing. You know, he's big into it, so he knows what he's doing. But he's not an editor. He doesn't do post production. He doesn't do, you know what I mean? He's a cameraman, and he's great at it. But the other stuff, we're doing this, you know, seat of our pants. So it's brand new. So as far as, you know, feature film quality, no, we're not there. But our video quality is going to be really good, and the rest of it is going to be as good as we can make it. And we're actually going to try to crowdfund and see if we can get some funding to pay for some of this post-production work, or maybe even some travel to get some of the footage we want to get overseas, things like that.
Very cool. No, very interesting stuff. You know, part of the you mentioned, or we mentioned, something kind of like the Good Old Boys Club back in the day. And there was, I feel like there was some truth to this, but there was also some bias to it. I feel like a big thing that divided a lot of people in the classical gaming community, or in the competitive gaming community, competitive gaming subculture, if you will. I feel like some of what divided them was this idea that the arcade scores are what matters. The arcade scores are the only real scores, and the other ones, yeah, we track them, but it's not so important. And I always kind of rejected that idea, even though I get it. I do get it. I mean, and if I'm going to be real, or if I'm going to be honest, yeah, I mean, you do kind of get more street cred, or screen cred, if you will, for for the arcade scores. But not everyone was an arcade gamer. I remember interviewing Steve Sanders years ago, and he said something that was kind of profound to me at the time. He just said, part of the reason why some of us were so good at these games was because we lived close to arcades, and we had parents who would give us a fistful of quarters.
Right, yeah.
And could do it, and not everyone had that. And I thought that was a very cool admission for him to say, for him to make. And not that it's something that he should be ashamed of, or by any means, but it was an idea that, I really appreciated him saying that. Like, yeah, he's right. Not everyone had that opportunity, and some people prefer the consoles not because they prefer them, but it's just because it's what they played, because they didn't happen to live, within walking distance of an arcade as a kid, or they, they saved up all their money and got that one console, and that was the only game they had. That's why they're so damn good at it in a lot of ways. I think a lot of times people's favorite video game is much more dependent on not the quality of the game, but on the memories they have from it. And, it happened to be...
skill sets they have.
Yeah, and a lot of people, maybe they only had, I know some people had a Nintendo and had 60 games, Or a friend of mine from grade school when I was a kid, go over his house, and I don't know, his parents just had some money or something, but he had like 50 Nintendo games at the time. That was like, it's huge. Like, geez, dude, and so he had all these different games. Like, I had like 5, and I was awesome at them.
Fucking loser.
I was awesome at
you were
those
playing all the time.
Yeah, but
so I was just it was just brought to my attention from a MAME player. He said to let you know that the skills transfer well from MAME to arcade. This is actually Rob. He was just saying that when you mentioning other platforms.
Sure.
He was talking about how this it transfers very well. The skills that you gain on one, either arcade or MAME, it'll carry over to the other. Granted, there's a little different gameplay involved. Keyboard versus joystick,
sure.
fire button, whatever.
I know some people do play MAMEs on a more traditional platform. It can be converted. I know some people do that with certain games. Donkey Kong cabinets that are actually MAME, but they're played with a joystick and a button.
I should have. I feel bad now. I should have given a shout out to my camera guy. Joe Piscitelli is his name.
Oh,
so
very cool.
I should have mentioned that.
Shout out
yeah, he's really great at it, and actually, this is another service we've been wanting to offer from Galaga Forum. If like for events, or even if somebody wanted to host a Galaga record attempt, they could hire us to film this for them. And then we would also give them a copy of all the footage along with, because to cover Joe, if Joe went and did it, he'd be taking time that he could have maybe had an actual job that day. Mm-hmm. So, we'd want to try to cover his costs. So we thought, heck, we'll offer that as a service. We actually recorded the last IVGOF induction ceremony. We recorded all of it and got them a copy, and they were very happy with it. They said it's the best quality video that they've had. So that's some other things that we're working on too. Sorry,
No, that's okay. You know, I mean, and we don't have to have this conversation on air completely, but I'm actually in talks with somebody. Maybe we can talk to you about that here in Westland, Garden City area, that wants to host something like that. So he hasn't mentioned Galaga specifically, but event or events like that. So definitely something we could.
Actual arcade.
Video game store.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
No, a video game, and actually just gaming store, if you will. He does tabletop games as well. But he's got a lot of space. Very cool store. And, I know that we'd definitely be interested in maybe doing something like that.
They might be somebody that we would get on our show at some point, maybe, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Good guy. You wouldn't like his politics, but great guy.
Oh, okay.
I know yours and I know his. But
we should talk about the coronavirus then.
You were mentioning the MAME thing, and don't think that you have to agree with me with this thing, but an unpopular opinion I used to hold actually when I was directly connected with Twin Galaxies was I wanted to try to build us towards an area where eventually you would have MAMEs that were recognized and that would actually count as the actual score of arcade games. Just simply because as these arcade games are disappearing, and
so
Twin Galaxies.
I can tell you what we've done.
Yeah, go ahead. No, please.
We've got a combined leaderboard, arcade and MAME.
Mm-hmm.
However, we have separate leaderboards for each, but we have combined them into a top 10 overall that's combined. Like it'll show arcade and MAME if there are both in the top 10. I think for marathon, it's one way or the other. For one there is and one there isn't. Like one is all arcade, but one has MAME on it. I don't have it right in front of me right this second,
that's
so
okay.
I feel kind of stupid since I should know this anyway.
That's all right.
But yeah, I think it's worth listing as such, but I don't think that they should be combined as far as making them equal, because they are. I don't care what people say, because some people, and I'm talking about like pro level players, but I've played both too, and so have most people I know, and there is a difference. It's minimal,
sure,
but there is a difference. So at that point, it's not the same. I mean, if we're so picky with original boards and everything else, for the arcade track, then why, if something else isn't the same, would we put them together? Unless it's just a board to show how they compare, which is fine, and I don't have a problem with that. And somebody could be the overall champion, platform aside, this is the guy right here. But I don't think that you can really combine them and say, oh well, this 4 million on MAME is the same as 4 million on arcade. It might be really close to the same, but I don't know that you could say it is the same. And when you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And the thing is that to me, I could spend the next 2 weeks playing Galaga on MAME and Galaga on the arcade, and I probably still couldn't tell you the difference. But I do know that you're right, and that the more you know a particular game, you can see. Nowhere near is cool as having records or being a top competitor in Galaga, but I was a Bubble Bobble guy. That was my world records were in Bubble Bobble, and the one version of it. There's several versions of it on Nintendo Wii, and the one is supposed to be the original one, the initial one that was released on there is supposed to be basically the same as the Nintendo version, the original Nintendo, the 8-bit NES version, but it's not.
Right.
It's not. And I know that for that game, and in some of the ways, and I can see you kind of, when you're trying to say what the differences are. Some of them you can't you can't really even explain exactly what the differences are, but it's different. It is different, you know, just the gameplay, if nothing, even if it's just the feel of the way it does.
Yeah, it can be very minute, you know.
There's, I mean, Bubble Bobble, for
just
instance, there's a couple of boards where I used to, you know, bounce the bubbles up the side on this one board, but it just doesn't work that way on the Wii. You just got to do it a different way. You know, and it's just very, very minor things like that, you know. And I'm sure that but those minor things, when you're talking about millions of points, and you know, they matter. They do matter.
Yeah, and it might not matter. I mean, again, it might not matter a lot, but if there's a difference, there's a difference, and that's like those 16 ones. There's a lot of difference there. I mean, if you watch the gameplay, you might not think there's any difference. Same with MAME too. You wouldn't see it, but if you're playing it, you can feel it.
Sure.
There's a much greater delay on the 16 ones when you're moving. Mm-hmm. So actually, you're kind of at a disadvantage there. On MAME, I think you get a little advantage though. You have, you know, there's no delay if you're using like a PS2 keyboard, and I don't mean PlayStation 2. I mean, you know, the interface. But also, the game seems a little slower, just a tiny, tiny bit. So it's a little easier, I think, in my opinion. And other people have agreed with me that that's what they perceive too.
Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that is little things like that. The minutia does matter when you're talking about play at that level. That is
it can make a few 100,000 point difference.
All right, as we're kind of coming to a close here, what you've laid out, you got tons of plans for, you know, the Galaga Forum and your you know, media in the future. It sounds awesome. What are your plans as a gamer? What you gonna keep going with Galaga? Are there any other games you're looking at, you know, to max out and conquer and devastate? Or
I've been playing a lot of Fortnite lately. I've gotten to a point. So I start playing these games, and I suck, you know, like anybody else that starts playing a game. I've gotten to the point now that I play. So have you played Fortnite? Do you know anything about it?
I have not. My son plays it, so my son used to play it, but I don't know a whole lot about it. No.
So you can play solo or in duos or in squads, or you can play other versions too. But those are the three main battle royale games. And so in my normal mode of playing anymore, I play squads, but I play by myself. So I'm going against teams of 4.
Oh.
And I think, I mean, to me, for that way of playing, I think I get wins fairly often doing that. So I think I'm at a point now where I'm at least okay at it.
That's cool. New ways to challenge yourself.
Yeah, and it's fun. So I like doing that. So I've been a gamer since the 70s. So I've played almost any game that's been made, and even, you know, go to Galloping Ghost and play all the rare games that they only made 1 or 2 or 3 of.
Right. This is why
have you been there, by the way?
No, I have not been to Galloping Ghost, actually.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
you got to go.
Yeah, no, I do. I really do. You know what? I've never been to Galloping Ghost. I've actually never been to Star Worlds either. And and the guys that run it, they're great guys. I absolutely love those guys. A lot of friends who hang out there. So those are two. I don't even want to say bucket list, because I want to get those off my immediate bucket list. You know, to get to those sooner rather than later, for sure.
Cool. But I'll always still play Galaga. I mean, when I get a chance. I don't play much, but I'm still, you know, I can still play better than anybody that just walks up to one.
Sure.
But I'm not competitive with these other guys right now.
Sure.
They're just out of this world.
Yeah, no, that's, you know, and that is one cool thing that, and I'll give Twin Galaxy some of the credit for this. I'll give some of the other parts of the competitive gaming subculture a big part of this. But you know, as it's branched out and become international, we found guys that are just awesome. You know, they can really definitely, you know, that take these old scores that just seemed unbeatable. Even, even when I started with Twin Galaxies, there were so many scores that were just like, oh, that's unbeatable, that's untouchable, and it's like 8th place now. People have come in and just murdered them, and it's cool. There's something to be said for that.
Real quick, do you have another time for one real little quick
Go
squib?
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
What would you think of an actual international tournament?
Sounds pretty cool.
So I've already talked to a couple arcades in Spain who seem very interested in the idea of it. We're reaching out to a couple in Denmark, some in England, different countries. We're trying to find out, and this takes an extensive and exhaustive searching. Even there's arcades in Afghanistan. Did you know that?
I did not.
So anyway, one of my other little goals is to try to put something together, and this is going to be a few years away because to lay all the groundwork, do all the networking, it's going to take a few years to set up. But I would like to have a real world championship. So maybe people qualify in their own country, and we arrange it that it would take an arcade or some other sponsor willing to do it, but to fly them out and maybe even put up a prize pool or whatever. But I think it could eventually happen because gaming is so big now with esports and everything.
Yeah.
People are seeing potential for it, and I think that could go to classic arcade gaming too. I think there could be a big jump like that because look at all these arcade bars and look at how many kids are playing these arcade games. It's all over. It's huge.
Well, yeah, nowadays too, and you can download them on your Xbox or your PlayStation or your whatever the newest Nintendo thing.
Oh yeah,
people find these old
but
games. My
people are
kids
still
love
going
them.
out and doing it.
My kids absolutely love games like that. My son's 13. Yes, he plays new stuff too, but yeah, he plays Galaga on our Wii. He plays he plays all this stuff.
Nice.
And he plays it all the time. Loves it. He loves those games just as much as the new ones. It's a different kind of gaming, but it's just as cool. Very much so.
Yeah,
Hey,
definitely.
Hey, John, real quick, as we're closing out, I know you already said it, but why don't you give us the info for your podcast one more time? And, if you want to throw out any topics you're going to maybe cover in the future, or just so the people at home can, hear it one more time, and we can, of course, link to it and all that stuff. But it's nice to just hear you say it with, where and the when and the how they can view you and Rob on your new podcast.
Sure. It's 10 p.m. Eastern, so 9 Central, whatever the other time zones are. What would that be? 8 Mountain and 7 Pacific. It'll be on twitch.tv/gamingfeats. It will also be on YouTube at The Gaming Feats Experience. And our topics are going to just vary all over retro gaming, modern gaming, in between. We might talk about some other stuff. We're gonna let some of the content be driven by comments in the chat as we're going too. We're gonna do it live, so
Very cool.
We might have some whole different things that we might go in weird directions. But the show that we're gonna do next week, when you're on, we want to talk about, and again, it's all opinion based. Your favorite game of all time, and then the greatest. What was the greatest game ever created? And that can be different, of course.
Sure.
It's different for me. For Rob, it's the same, I think. But,
It'll definitely be different for me because I like goofy stuff.
Yeah, and you can spend a fair amount of time talking about it too. So, and that's something that might be kind of fun, I thought. Unless you're not interested in that topic.
No, it sounds great.
Topic,
no,
so.
Definitely sounds great.
Cool.
No, so you can, John just told you where you can hear him and Rob or see him and Rob on Wednesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to catch out a super cool show, you can watch the preview tomorrow, but then you can catch me and John together again next Wednesday on his show. And definitely looking forward to that. And definitely looking forward to talking to you again in the future about this stuff and other stuff here on the Xcast or
Likewise.
On your show or elsewhere. But thanks so much for your time, John. Really appreciate you calling in, and good luck to you, man.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, for sure, man. We'll see you.
Yeah, thanks, John.
All right, thanks. Bye.
All right, that was Jon Klinkel. His show is, like you said, check him out Wednesday nights. It's fun to talk about gaming again, isn't it, Adam? It's been a little while.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Yeah, definitely been a little while since we had a video gaming topic on this show. But yeah, it was fun. The show sounds cool. I caught the first episode, and very cool, and it seems like they're definitely getting their bearings and that it's going to, improve from there and get even better. But John knows, he knows his stuff, He really does. He knows his stuff inside and out. So it's cool to talk about it. Adam.
He doesn't seem like a dick either.
No, he's not. He's not at all. He's such a nice guy.
So many dicks in the video game.
There is, Adam, I've apologized to you, I know, about this off air. I should do it on air. I do feel bad that I have introduced you to some of the people in this world, but John is definitely not one of those guys. He's a great guy, but no, I've definitely brought some strife and drama to this show in the past.
I like being on the outside, kind of looking in. Like you mentioned before, not having a horse in the race or anything like that. I like doing that. Because to me, it doesn't really matter either way. I mean,
sure.
I know there's some people out there that live and die by, that stuff.
Sure.
Whatever. It's to each their own, but I like not, taking it too seriously or seriously at all.
And what's kind of weird about the competitive gaming world too is that so many of
the subculture.
The subculture, yeah. About the competitive gaming subculture is you do have so much press for some of these jerks out there. There really are some dicks in the competitive gaming subculture. But believe it or not, John isn't. He's actually the norm. There really is a lot of great people in it, men and women in the in competitive gaming that are really nice people and just like the games, and they like to root for each other, and that's actually what I should have said this when John was on, but one of the things I always really liked about the Galaga competition was it always seemed really friendly compared to the other games. Sure, the guys in the Donkey Kong one could be friendly, and Pac-Man, they could be friendly, but it was much more competitive and cutthroat. But the Galaga guys always seemed to get along. I was always real good friends with Phil Day and Andrew Laidlaw. I really liked those guys a lot, and they were like best buddies when they hung out. And they were competing with each other. They used to mail each other their tapes and.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to Phil Day on this show before. I like Phil Day too.
Yeah,
I mean, Phil Day's
super
cool
nice guy.
But,
super nice guy. But
as long as it's always advocating that competitive gaming should be a sport. That's what I was. It seems like some of these guys get a little salty, and
yeah.
I mean, considering what, in some aspects, what competitive gaming has turned into.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it seems like. I mean, in some ways, I could sympathize and empathize with where they're coming from. Like Rudy, for instance. I mean, he's salty that TBS is sitting there hosting these video game tournaments,
right,
and he's not in it. Well,
right.
You chose the wrong video game.
It's true. I like to compare it to the incredible athletes around the world playing volleyball. Complaining about how. Nobody cares about us like they do about the Super Bowl. Sorry, you should have picked a different sport. I don't know what to tell you.
But it's okay, sorry. Splatterhouse or Home Alone isn't on the docket for TBS's coverage of video game competitions.
No, it's really not. I have always thought that competitive gaming, that there are great comparisons to be made to sports, and I like to try to build off of it and say this is what they do in sports. This is what people should think about doing for this. But that doesn't mean I think it is a sport. I don't think you're an athlete because it
takes zero athletic ability to play video games.
It takes other abilities.
But
not that.
As far as athletic ability,
no, it does not. But hey, man, are there any before we get out of here? Is there any Super Tuesday results or anything? That we want to throw out?
We've got the
Super Duper Tuesday.
Super Duper Tuesday.
Excuse me.
We've got the centrist comeback of the cycle.
Oh my! I don't know why you gave me this entire chair. I only needed the edge of it.
You've got Joe Biden and the rest of the centrists coalescing to take 5 states thus far.
Whew.
5 states.
5 states.
Yeah. A lot of southern states. Bernie's won Vermont and Colorado. These are the states that have come in, and then Biden's won like Oklahoma, Alabama, Virginia, and stuff like that.
All right, so it doesn't matter how hard the DNC hits him, he still has the socialists and the dope smokers lined up.
Yes. Sorry, DNC, you're not getting the socialists and the dope smokers.
It doesn't matter how hard you hit them. There you go.
And right
they
now,
are Bernie bros.
Yep, California still has another little bit over a half hour before their polls close.
Yeah. Bernie's supposed to win California, right?
Bernie's supposed to win in California, yep. And right now, Bernie is winning in Texas, too. So I'm assuming Texas and California are going to go to Bernie.
Do you know what?
Those are two. I mean,
yeah, that's big.
You could lose those 5 states, but you take Colorado, Texas, and California. I mean, that's still.
In the past, when I have made, I know that this election cycle, I've mostly just been, apathetic and just kind of a hater on everything. Mm-hmm. But back when in the past, when I've made arguments for the primaries, why the primaries are a good idea.
Yeah.
I actually really think that where the primary really gives people a voice and really sticks up for people, and provides a voice for people who are often voiceless are, for instance, the Democratic primary in Texas or the Republican primary in California. Mm-hmm. Because this is kind of the only time these people get their voice heard.
Yeah.
They get to help decide when the DNC or RNC aren't cheating. They get to actually help decide who the nominee is going to be, because Texas isn't going to go for the Dems.
No.
And California's not going to go for the Republicans. But truth be told, there are more Republicans living in California than there are in Nebraska. Mm-hmm. And there are more Democrats living in Texas than there are in New Jersey.
Yeah, or Massachusetts.
Yeah, there are more there because 40% of the population, which is roughly what the other half of the duopoly is comprising of over there, are there. It's not people, I think, like to think sometimes that there are no Republicans in California. Or there are no Democrats in Texas.
Actually, there's quite a bit.
There's a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of them. Do you know how many people are 35 to 40% of the population of Texas? Or 35 to 40% of the population of California? It's a ton.
Yeah.
And they're very regionalized, too. The big cities in Texas are mostly Democrat, just like the big cities are anywhere else.
Exactly. I mean, even in Alabama, you're going to see, more of the urban centers go more Democratic.
Yeah. People in Montgomery are going to be... voting Democrat a lot of the time.
Even
in Northern California, I know a bunch of people in Northern California who are hardcore Republicans.
Same thing with college towns too. Like Tuscaloosa in Alabama is probably going to be more Democratic than it will be Republican. But I'm so sick of primaries at this point.
Oh, me too.
I would love to see it go to a one-night thing. At the end of the cycle, this is going to be the Democratic primary, and they do it like the general. And just have everything right then and there.
Quite honestly, Adam, I know that for media reasons, they love to have these primaries spread out. But if fairness matters at all, and if we're going to have candidates dropping out before Super Duper Tuesday, and we're going to have...
that's why they won't do it.
We're going to have people saying that the election's decided 5 states in, which is ludicrous when there's 50 of them. Really, there's, 55 primaries or something when you count D.C. and other places. And when you're going to have that, then the primaries really ought to be on the same night.
Yeah.
Really, They really ought to be all on the same day.
Yep.
And we should probably all just go vote on the same day.
Yep, have them all the same day. Get rid of caucusing.
Sure.
Because I mean, caucusing it seems like like obviously it's a different process.
Mm-hmm. Seems fun.
Some people like that.
Yeah.
But I think for working people, it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, just because nobody has. I mean, some people barely have enough time to go and stand in line at a polling center and vote.
And I don't necessarily want to tell states that they have to switch from a caucus to a primary. Just at this point, I kind of don't see why they don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, I don't necessarily want to outlaw it. And hey, as somebody that happens to love history and love tradition, and I do, I like those things. You know, okay, fine. Iowa's the first caucus. New Hampshire's the first primary. Then a week later, let's do 20 of them. And then a week later, let's do the rest. You know, I mean, maybe that would be better. You know, because quite honestly, I mean, today's, you know, the big one. You know, we here in Michigan, we're going to vote next Tuesday. Does that even matter? I mean, you're not going to get a chance to... If you're somebody who really looked at this Democratic field and picked somebody, chances are your person isn't on that. You know, they're still on the list. Mm-hmm. They're still going to be on your ballot. That name's still going to be sitting there. You can still vote for Andrew Yang if you want to, but he's not running for president anymore.
No, I asked you in 2016 if you still voted for Rand Paul.
Yeah, and I did not.
You said no.
Yeah, I did not. No, I voted in the Republican primary in 2016. I was a big Rand Paul supporter, and part of me almost thought about, geez, maybe I'll just still vote for Rand Paul. But he dropped out. I voted for Marco Rubio. You know, that's who I voted for. Who I don't hate Marco Rubio. he's all right. You know, I guess I kind of like him. I'll tell you what, I'll take Marco Rubio over any of the clowns that are running for president right now, including the dude who's living in the White House. But that's just me. That's just my opinion. Nothing more. You know.
Yeah, that's.
But all right. So Super Duper Tuesday is still ongoing. California.
So next week is Super Tuesday then.
Yes.
Right?
I thought it was in 2 weeks.
I thought it was next week.
I could be wrong. You seem so adamant.
Well, 2 weeks would give the DNC even more time to figure things out and how they're going to.
So has Bloomberg won any primaries right now?
Yeah, he won American Samoa.
Oh, that's okay. American Samoa. Has Bloomberg won any primaries or caucuses of states?
No.
Okay.
Which in all fairness, up until Michael Bloomberg has won a primary sooner in his political, in his presidential
than Joe Biden.
Than Joe Biden has.
And Joe Biden's ran 16 or 17 times now.
Well, he was running against. Didn't he run against Woodrow Wilson though?
I think so. I mean. And, I know, he probably was running against...
In all fairness, too, I think Bernie was part of the Russian Revolution, too.
Well,
so.
yeah, no, he was. I mean, well, yeah, exactly. Well,
we want to be fair about this.
Yeah, well, while Bernie was helping out Lenin, Biden was, preparing to run against Strom Thurmond and something. Stop, civil rights.
Well,
it.
Hey, Biden was, that's what he reminisces about is being able to work with Strom Thurmond, which, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. If you wanna go on and how you, if you wanna wax nostalgic about how you were able to work with segregationists, then by all means,
have at it.
Yeah,
brother.
have at it. I guess. If that's something that you want to put out there.
Yeah, I mean, in Strom Thurmond's defense, the last 10 times. Well, no, at least the last. It is a 6-year term. At least the last 3 or 4 times he won his Senate seat. I don't think he remembered that he was a segregationist. I mean, in his defense, to be fair.
Okay, yeah. If we're being fair,
considering that he was 101. I believe.
Is
still senator.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, he was 101 years old.
Yeah, and
still
that's not hyperbolic or anything.
No,
I
no,
think,
he
yeah,
really was. Yeah, I know I said earlier that Biden was 100, but no, Strom Thurmond really was 100 years old. He was president pro tempore of the Senate. So I guess.
But Strom Thurmond, you know what? As big of a fucking asshole Strom Thurmond is, I mean, his place in American history as being the guy that impacted the ideological shift in parties, from Democratic and Republican parties. I mean, that's. I mean,
to a Democrat, to a Dixiecrat, to a Republican.
I mean, he is the guy that helped shape modern politics as far as what it is today.
You know what say about Strom Thurmond, considering that he was president pro tem at age 100, he was a hell of a lot brighter at age 78 than Joe Biden is right now.
Do you think he knew what state he was in? And
I'm pretty sure he did.
And who he was being interviewed by?
Yeah, I mean, he might have had racist origins, but he didn't think that he could nominate or not nominate the first African American senator.
Come on, was that true? Was that true that Biden said that?
Yeah. And I know he misspoke. He meant to say Supreme Court justice, but he didn't. He didn't. He said he was looking forward to nominating the first African American female senator, and he was just running against Kamala Harris like an hour ago.
And I mean, yeah, and
you know what? Listen, people misspeak. People do make gaffes. If that was his only one,
fine.
Yeah, fine. Really, fine. If he hadn't just called Chris Wallace Chuck, if he hadn't after he introduced himself.
If you're going to refer to Super Tuesday as Super Thursday,
yeah,
I think he did that one too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I don't know who's winning Super Tuesday, but Biden is definitely winning Super Thursday. He said he was going to appoint the first African American female senator. He screwed up he tried to, bust out the Declaration of Independence line and screwed that up and just wrapped it up with, all know it.
Oh, God, yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking about the man has a ridiculous gaffe that would be made fun of no matter who said it. He's got one about every 36 hours. Is basically what he's doing now. So, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I actually do feel bad for the guy. His family and friends should have never allowed him to do this.
No, I mean, you would have figured the last shot would have been in 2016. But you know what? I mean, looking back on that too, Biden probably would be president right now.
He probably would be.
If he ran in 2016, he probably would be president.
I think you're right. I think you are right.
I think that I think his shot was better then than it is now.
Well, I mean, because so many people were so. I know there's a lot of people that love Donald Trump, but so many people voted for Donald Trump because
out of spite.
Yeah, and
of
it was
Hillary Clinton.
Right. I mean, it was an absolute hatred for Hillary Clinton, which is warranted, by the way, because the woman is a criminal.
The baggage certainly isn't there. I mean, Biden certainly has. Voting record that he would have to attest to. But I mean, the guy, even at that point too, the guy was has been in government. He's been a bureaucrat forever.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying Joe Biden would have been the greatest president ever.
No,
and frankly, looking at him right now, I'm glad he didn't win in 2016 because he would still be this same age right now. He would still be that same guy, except for he would have had an even harder workload over the last 4 years. I've heard Trump detractors say things recently like, well, Biden's got his gaffes, but look at Trump's gaffes. Trump doesn't have gaffes. Trump says really stupid things, but he means them. I mean, Trump's tweets aren't gaffes. He means to say that stuff. They're not mistakes. He's saying that stuff. He means that stuff. That's not a gaffe. That's him.
No, I mean,
love him, hate him, whatever. But that's
exactly. I mean, look. I mean, Trump is he's an idiot in some sense. He's maniacal in some sense. I don't. But again, though, I mean, whatever message you're trying to, bring to the table for your campaign, it's never a good message, because we've seen it before, of trying to go after Donald Trump for his character or what he says or doesn't say.
There isn't a hidden Donald Trump.
No, there isn't.
Donald Trump is Donald Trump. There's a hidden Joe Biden. There's a guy behind there who, in my humble opinion, is losing it. Isn't there? He is not there. He's being brought along. He's being leashed along like a little dog, and they're kicking people out of the race to give him the faux numbers he needs to get this thing, and it's not working. It's a debacle.
And let's be completely honest with ourselves too. I mean, now when you think of establishment Democrat, if it's not Hillary Clinton, next in line is going to be Joe Biden.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just what it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Again, too, there's plenty to go back on, too. When Joe Biden's talking about helping the middle class or anything like that, just go back and look and see what this guy's record is. There's no record of Joe Biden actually going out and helping the people that Democrats, establishment Democrats, supposedly say they want to go out and help.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden didn't earn the nickname NBNA Joe just because. He did it. He earned it because he's in the pockets of the banks. This is the same guy that made it harder for students and Americans to file bankruptcy in this country. And to think of how, it's for some people it may be humiliating, or just, how what bankruptcy means to some people, as far as being a last ditch effort to just, find some economic stability for themselves, start over. To make something like that harder for somebody, not to mention, if you were to file bankruptcy, it's already going to be hard as fuck for you afterwards, to try to get back on track, even though you don't have creditors left and right breathing down your neck to, recoup money that you just don't have. To just give them that extra little gut punch of making it harder to do something like that when it's already going to be harder afterwards. What kind of asshole are you? What kind of fucking heartless asshole are you to go and do something like that and just make it that much harder for Americans out there?
That's who he is, though, Adam. He's a fighter, okay? Did you get arrested with Nelson Mandela? Did you single-handedly defeat Corn Pop?
No. And that's what I don't get to. What are people voting for here? You had a guy sit here and lie. And it's not just the Nelson Mandela thing. Joe Biden has gone up and down just lying about his civil rights record and what he's done for the civil rights movement. Just all over the place.
Could you imagine if somebody who wasn't the MSM's darling said that about Nelson Mandela?
Oh,
that's all they would be talking about. Whether it's Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders or Gary Johnson or whoever, could you imagine? They'd be done. Oh, Gary Johnson
was just railroaded because he didn't know what Aleppo was.
Right. and even that, they love to talk about how he didn't know what Aleppo was. If anyone ever feels like going back and watching that full video, you see an interviewer and him who are talking about something totally different. They're talking about social issues, and he randomly, when they're not talking about anything to do with...
No, it's a gotcha question.
Yeah, he says, what about Aleppo? And Gary Johnson says, what's Aleppo? They were talking about economic issues in in the United States.
So he was thinking Aleppo was in reference to some economic
Right.
thing.
Yeah, it's they're talking about something totally different. It would be like, we're talking about, I don't know, we're talking about abortion, and then you randomly say, what about Baghdad? You say,
Baghdad.
what's Baghdad? You've never heard of Baghdad?
Is that some abortion drug or something?
Right. I mean, that's it doesn't make, but whatever. I'm not trying to.
Well, one thing you don't hear about now is Amy Klobuchar not knowing the president of Mexico.
Sure.
I mean, just because she's gotten on board now. She's gotten on
Right.
board with Joe Biden, and the mainstream media is given a collective sigh of relief. Well, we don't have to talk about Amy Klobuchar anymore because she is. She's on board with it all now.
She's woke to the cause.
Yeah, she's woke to the cause. We don't need to bury her.
And the thing is with Joe Biden and the Nelson Mandela thing, if I'm going to just pinpoint this one,
Is it Mandela effect thing? Is it?
No, I wasn't going to go there. I wasn't going to talk about Mandela effect. But the only question you can ask there, the only worthwhile question is, was he lying? Was he just blatantly lying, or does he truly not remember? Did he, was that put in front of him and he truly doesn't remember that far back? My answer is I don't care.
Either one is
not acceptable.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, either one is not acceptable
good.
as somebody who's about to be the president of the free world.
Yeah.
Just doesn't work. Sorry. Either you're a liar or you're senile. Mm-hmm. I don't care which one it is. I just know you shouldn't be president. That's it. Sorry.
I mean,
especially when, it's not like Biden got the nomination, and now the stuff's coming out, and it's either Biden or Trump. We still hate Trump, right? Okay, well, Trump did this, Trump did that. He's not even running against Donald Trump right now. Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, I'm not fans of theirs, but they're not senile. If Amy Klobuchar didn't know the president of Mexico, she didn't know. She can find out. Just tell her. God, I hate it that I'm sitting here defending Amy Klobuchar here.
No, I guess in all fairness, too, she's a senator from Minnesota. I mean, what does she ever have to do with...
Yeah. Should every person in Congress know who the president of Mexico is, considering it's a border country? Yeah, they probably should.
Yeah, they probably should.
They probably should. But on the other hand, I guarantee that if you hand a piece of paper to every congressman or congresswoman with 50 countries on it and say, name the leaders of these countries, not one of them's going to rattle off all 50.
No, they're not.
I shouldn't say nobody. Maybe somebody will. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody on the, Foreign Policy Committee or something. They might. And if they do, kudos. But I promise the vast majority of them are going to screw up one of them.
No,
You should probably know Mexico and Canada.
Yeah.
You probably should. You should probably know Russia. You should probably know China. But you're going to screw one up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you remember. They did that to George W. Bush. He screwed one up. I don't even remember what country it was. He didn't know the ruler. And then afterwards, they said, well, and they just started rattling off countries, and he knew most of them. Mm-hmm. Most of them he knew. They went, well, who's Russia? And he was like, Putin. I'm not stupid. I'm not that stupid, And, they said Mexico, Vicente Fox, or whoever it was at the time. I think it was Fox. He knew most of them. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, they caught him on one. And chances are you're going to catch pretty much all these people on one of them. It's a lot to remember. You're running for president.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, again, people are going to make gaffes. People are going to make mistakes. And if Biden said, I'm going to appoint the first African-American female senator, or, Supreme Court justice. If he said that, no big deal. People misspeak. You're
It's if you let it go.
Right.
It's if you let it go, and if it's your campaign or your spokesperson or something that has to come in afterwards, a day later.
And you have people, journalists and regular people all over social media and all over the news denying that he said it. The other day I posted on social media the video of him saying it, and there's people on my feed commenting saying, he didn't say that. Click the video. It's 8 seconds long. Click the damn video.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. It's that same denialism that you get with Trump people too.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
Well, he didn't say that. Well, here's him saying it. Well, that's not what he meant.
I was just talking with somebody a few weeks ago when I was criticizing Trump about something, and this wasn't on social media. This was a person, and yes, they were a Trump supporter and not a dumb person by any means, but that I said something about paying off a porn star. Well, I don't know that he paid off a porn star when he was married. No, we do know that. We know that. That's it's okay if you're okay with it. Be okay with it, but no, that's one we know. We know he did that, okay?
Yeah.
That's I'm not the person who's saying any person who ever cheated on their wife or husband is automatically banned from public service. For one thing, we have to have a whole bunch of emergency elections right now. If that was the case, because there's probably more that have than haven't. But yeah, that one's kind of a heinous one, though.
It's just so disheartening and just so annoying, whatever it is you want to call it. Going into what I'm assuming is going to be the general between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I mean, instead of sitting here hearing two candidates talk about how they are going to make lives better for people in the United States, the topic of conversations are going to be whose scandals are not as big as Trump's scandal or Biden's scandal. Oh well, the whatever, the Ukraine thing isn't as bad as Hunter Biden actually being on the board. Well, Hunter Biden being on the board isn't as bad as you paying off porn stars and campaign finance fraud or whatever it is. I mean, that's what we're lining ourselves up for here.
And they want that. They want that. Because they don't want to really talk about things.
No, and not to mention, Republicans have already said too that they're going to look to start all these investigations into Joe Biden and Hunter Biden if and when he becomes president of the United States. So I mean, that's what we're being set up for here. I mean, that's our future in all of this.
In my opinion, you're going to have an instance where anytime there's a sitting president and the other party is in control of the House, they're probably going to get impeached.
Yeah,
we went through, Andrew Johnson's impeached in the 1860s. Nobody. For 130 years. Then we get Clinton. A couple of decades go by. I think in 30 years from now, there's just going to be a whole list of people who are impeached, and it's going to mean nothing.
And you know what, too, Josh? I mean, I think there's a multitude of different things that you could have impeached Donald Trump for. But the reason why he wasn't impeached is because...
It wasn't removed.
Or wasn't removed, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, he wasn't impeached initially, then whatever.
Sure.
I will say impeached just because that's what comes first. Because Democrats do the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, you want to impeach him for putting, kids in cages? Great. Democrats are going to bring that forward, though, because they do it, too. Mm-hmm. The only reason why it became an issue is because, you're going to be going after our establishment boy, Joe Biden?
Right.
Well, I'm Nancy Pelosi, and I have a problem with that now.
Sure.
That's where I'm going to draw the line because you know what? He's going to be our future presidential candidate here, so we got to make sure that we protect him in that sense.
But Adam, I love your point. I know we're running low on time here. I love your point about that's what the debates are going to be about. That's what it's going to be about. And you're absolutely right. There are, because I'm not saying that scandals or things that people did or things that people said should be discounted. I fully am for that, but we have the candidates now set. Whether it's Biden or somewhere else, the candidates are set. And in essence, it's all going to be blah, 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 blah. Trump says mean things. Blah, 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 blah.
Biden's
Joe.
Corrupt. Yeah.
It'll be he's Sleepy Joe. Trump's tweets are mean. That's what it'll boil down to. And what's worse, let's do it. And you're really only convincing a very small part because 90% of the people in the country are going to vote for either the R or the D. Regardless, 45% basically on each side. 45% of the country are going to vote for the Republicans. Let's call it 42. 42% are going to vote for the Republicans. 42% are going to vote for the Democrats, and that's a low estimate.
And
that's decided. It doesn't matter if, like Trump says, if he shoots somebody in the street. It doesn't matter. They're going to do it. It could be Mickey Mouse versus Donald Duck. They're gonna a healthy 42% are gonna vote, and the people that are supposedly swing voters, they pretty much always vote the same way too.
And you see, I mean, on the flip side of this, I mean, if it is Bernie Sanders that goes into it, like, I mean, I'm supporting Bernie Sanders in all of this, so excuse my bias, but if it is Bernie Sanders, you could see what's going to happen. I mean, oh, you're a socialist. Okay, well then we're at least talking about ideas here, because in response, Bernie Sanders is going to defend his position as a democratic socialist, and he's going to talk about why his position as a democratic socialist is going to be what is best for this country. And on the flip from there, he's going to be talking about why they're better than Donald Trump's policies, and then Donald Trump is going to be forced into defending his policies. And all of a sudden, we have an debate,
actual race for president.
An actual race for president that is, that has some substance behind it, where people are where two candidates are actually talking about their ideas and their strategies and whatnot to make things better for people. But we're not going to get that. No. I mean, we may not get that. I don't think we'll get that because of everything that's happening.
It remains to be seen.
It remains to be seen. But I mean, at least yes, we would see some semblance of that between Bernie and Trump going at it in a general, rather than Trump and Joe Biden.
Adam, I actually brought this up last week. I know you're not a fan of his, but Hugh Hewitt makes that exact point. Honestly, I'm not a big follower for his. I catch about, and this isn't an exaggeration, I catch about 5 to 10 minutes of his 3-hour show almost every day. That's what I tune into during that time in the car, because I hate everything else. And sometimes he has decent guests. So, I flip that on about 5-10 minutes a day of his show, and he's making that point every day that let's have it be Trump versus Bernie Sanders, so at least the American people can see the debate that should be had. The economic debate, the social debate, the debate that should be had, because, like you said, if it's Biden, if it's Bloomberg, it's not going to be it's not going to be Elizabeth Warren, but same with Elizabeth Warren.
It's who's worse character wise,
right?
But who's, and I know you don't like them, and I don't certainly don't like them either. But Chris Christie was on the Colbert Report, or the Tonight Show, whatever it's called now, the Late Show.
Yeah.
Talking with Stephen Colbert, and this was after the South Carolina debate, and he was going on. He was saying that, Bernie Sanders is the only one up there talking about ideas.
Sure.
And he's like, well, what about Elizabeth Warren? Elizabeth Warren's up there talking about ideas. And he's like, no, she's not. She's up there,
Yeah, she certainly was not.
Yeah, progressives don't like her anymore because she went, too far to the right. And people on the right now don't like her because they can't trust her. And what else?
Elizabeth Warren reminded me of in those debates was she reminded me of Chris Christie, and she did, where she was the one that she was like, I'm gonna attack the hell out of everybody, and I'm gonna go down with them, but I'm gonna expose some stuff.
Yeah, and then what he's saying is like, because this is after the Fidel Castro comments that Bernie made, and he's like, oh, yeah, they would sit there and outright call Bernie Sanders a communist, and he'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, but let's talk about Medicare for all.
Yes. Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. This is the way it seems like things are going, and we're, and the DNC is going to do everything they possibly can to not give us that debate. But you know what? They want to sit here and put Biden on a platform and have the debate be about who's a shittier person and who's a less corrupt politician, then okay, whatever. We're gonna get 4 more. We're gonna get a cycle that has everything to do with that, and another 4 more years of Donald Trump or Joe Biden doing absolutely nothing for anybody.
Yeah.
So,
same with if it's Trump versus Bloomberg, it'll be an absolute disaster. It's gonna be you nail porn stars. You're short. You're racist. No, you're racist.
it's gonna be the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, it is.
Of them pointing.
Right. Yeah. It's like you're not nice to women. You're not nice to women. You're not nice to black people. You're not nice to black people either. You're for stop and frisk. Yeah, that's right. No, we're both for that. You're right. Good point. You were more for stop and frisk.
It's gonna be like Step Brothers though, and they're like, "Hey, wait a second, did we just become best friends?"
Yeah, I think so. They already are. Just look at all the pictures of them golfing together.
Yeah, I mean, well, Mike Pence is probably gonna get a little nervous though. He's like, "Wait a second, they're in green and everything." Is Trump gonna make him his running mate? Is he gonna make him vice president if?
Yeah, no shit. I'd be worried if I was Pence right now. I'd be worried that he's gonna do that Bernie.
I can't.
It actually is technically too late, though, right? He's already.
Well, I don't.
Pence is his running mate, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he could.
I don't think that's not going to happen. Just
No,
because
I
think that's something that'll make his base kind of lose their shit. Having a socialist on the ticket.
I don't think he'd lose a vote.
Right?
If he really was playing the 4D chess that is the Trumpkins claim he is. That's what
we see how the base is too with Trump, and just the cult of personality with something like that. It's just crazy, but
all right. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in to this show in Politics of the Empire. Thanks for listening to Jon Klinkel and listening to me and Adam poke fun at the at things that really aren't funny. But what are you gonna do? All you can do is laugh when the political system is a joke. Well, laugh about it. But this has been the Xcast, everybody. We'll see you next week. But in this time slot next week, it will be Deep Issues, where we will be discussing Jeffrey Epstein. Speaking of elites who get away with whatever the hell they want. But that will be our topic next Tuesday.
Mike Bloomberg is in his book. He's in his black book.
Yes, he is. We'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. See ya.